In the wake of President Trump's executive order to unleash America's offshore critical minerals and resources, this administration has worked to keep their promise of cutting government bureaucracy and red tape. NOAA's new consolidated permit application will allow us to fully utilize our commercial capabilities to carry out deep-sea mining activities. Mr. Barron, the metals company is in a unique position in which you were the first company NOAA deemed in compliance with their new consolidated permit application. While this committee does not typically work in the permitting and regulatory process, we are constantly looking towards the future of innovation. For Mr. Barron first, and then any witnesses after, and I would just ask that you keep your comments to about a minute so everyone will have a chance to respond. How does this executive order shape the landscape of future deep-sea mining technologies and capabilities?
Well, since 2011, we've been busy spending that $700 million I mentioned, and of course, we contemplated permitting through the international body who had the express purpose of putting in place a regulatory regime to allow the commercialization. But of course, they never got around to it. They couldn't agree. However, we continued to carry out that very expensive environmental research. And those results, more than a petabyte of environmental data, is available for the world now. And of course, the biggest challenge, and some of what I heard my esteemed colleague mention today, some of the things they talk about happen in laboratories or happen in models. We need real data. We need to be running trials 4,000 meters below sea level. We need to be collecting the baseline environmental data as we have done for many, many years. We ran a collector trial in 2022 where we ran more than 80 kilometers along the tracks. We had 50 devices in the water measuring, monitoring all of this tremendous data that was being gathered so we could see the impacts. We stayed behind to look at the impact after the collector had left. We then returned a year later. So we have this tremendous availability of data. And of course, what does the data show us? It shows us—
Thanks, Mr. Barron. I really want to hear from everyone. I don't want to leave Dr. Leitner out on the end, but also know we've got a lot of folks who want to ask questions, so I want to keep us moving. But thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Connon. Okay, very good. Dr. Ballard? No? Okay. Dr. Leitner. And if we're done, I'll come back to you, Mr. Barron.
All right. Thank you. I would like to point out that the executive order specifically calls for the responsible development. And so this is what we need to follow in that order. And what we need is to fill all of the scientific gaps that still remain to be able to enable this industry to act responsibly. How can we set regulations if we don't know what we're regulating? How do we set thresholds that are acceptable if we don't know what threshold levels to use? So I would like to say that the executive order specifically calls for this, and that prioritizing scientific research is also in that. So there are pieces of that order that call specifically for that.
I would ask the question, would you turn your data over to her to analyze?
Well, our data will be made available to the regulator, and then it's for the world to look at.
Well,
but what we have found also, Bob, is that there's a tremendous amount of bias in science as well. There's a tremendous amount of activism in science, I would say. And however, independent scientific evidence is crucial. And so if I look at our environmental research, we spent hundreds of millions of dollars, but we gave work programs to independent organizations to go and carry out that work. They were able to carry that work, and we got to review it, of course. It wasn't our scientists going to do that work. We get to review it afterwards. And thresholds is one classic example. We engaged the Commonwealth Laboratory in Australia, CSIRO, and NOAA, who've had tremendous success in putting those thresholds in place for the Great Barrier Reef, which has seen recovery by understanding what are the things you need to measure, what are the important things, because they come with different levels of importance.
Mr. Barron, I got one more question for Dr. Leitner. Just based on your testimony, you had mentioned that China is out ahead of us. They're investing more heavily in science and research, and I think I would extrapolate that you think that China should have a hall pass to do what they're doing as far as potential mining because they've done more research. From an environmental standpoint, do you consider China to be a responsible actor?
I'm not privy to the information that's coming out of Chinese research right now. I don't think anybody gets a hall pass. and
But
I
you're
think that
praising the
development-
amount of research that they've done.
I'm saying their
vis-a-vis
assets.
the United States.
I'm saying they have more assets than we do currently.
Okay, all right. Thank you all. Appreciate your responses, and I now yield the ranking member for his questions.